This is a topic to review, and I suggest that if any of these problems give you trouble or you're a little confused, rewatch this video and try to do the problems on your own without looking at the answers. The first one is find slope from a graph. So I'm going to go and find points on this graph where it seems to be going through a corner of a square. And this looks like a rise of -2 over a run of 3. And you can figure that out by counting the squares that we go from one dot to the next dot. Rise and run. For the next question, and I am going to go fast so that we can get through this whole review. I'm not going to pause the video because I want you to take responsibility for going back and rewatching this video for any of the problems that you are unsure about. This example is finding the slope from 2 points. What we will do is label the points x1, y1, and x2, y2. To find the slope from 2 points, you do the change in y over the change in x. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This formula needs to be second nature. When you see find the slope from 2 points, you need to know that you are going to use this formula for finding the slope. And then how does that work? Well, the y2 was -4, and we are going to subtract 7. And the the x2 is 0, and the x1 is -8, and we are subtracting those. So I need to put this in parentheses, and I'm going to work this out. If I owe $4 and then I subtract $7, it's not going to be more. It's actually going to be less. And some people get that confused because the number 7 plus 4 is 11, and it's negative, which is less than, right? Like negative is a smaller number. And then this minus a negative is going to change to plus, and 0 plus 8 is 8. So the slope is -11/8. That cannot be reduced, so that is our answer. In this next example, it says change an equation to slope-intercept form. This is also an important concept. We want to solve for y. So what we're going to do is subtract 5x. So what we're doing is we're solving for y. And that cancels, leaving us with -3y. Be careful that you bring that negative down. Equals, I can't actually subtract these, so it's -5x plus 21. The next step will be to divide by -3 because we are solving for y. The -3's cancel. So we are left with y equals, the -5 and the -3 become positive 5/3 x because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And 21 divided by -3 is -7. So that is our answer after we solve for y. Next, we will write the equation of a vertical line in standard form given a point. There's a lot of information in these directions. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. A vertical line is going up and down is always going to be x equals something. And then if it was horizontal, it would be, I'll just write that, horizontal going this way, left and right, that will be a y equals, and it just equals a number. So if we are given this point, and 9 is our x, y is negative 15, well, the y's will all change, but x will always equal 9. And the graph of that would look like this, and we'd go over 9. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to do that in a different color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It would be like this. That would be the vertical line that goes through x equals 9, and the y equals negative 15 would be somewhere down here, but it really doesn't matter. All of the y's will be included, but it'll always be x equals 9. Write an equation in standard form. So again, that's ax plus by equals c. Given a word problem involving constraints. Adult tickets to the zoo cost $22, and so we'll do 22x, and children's tickets cost $11. So that'll be 11y, and they have $88 to spend. That is all you have to do for that. Check if points satisfy linear equations. What combinations of adult and children tickets can be purchased? So I'm going to go with starting with one adult, and I want to know how many children tickets we can get. So one adult, how many children? So using this same equation, 22, for x I'm going to plug in one adult plus 11y equals 88. So just solving for y, 22 plus 11, y equals 88. And if I subtract 22, I get 66. So 11y equals 66. So that means if we divide, we would get 6, right? So if we had one adult, we could bring 6 children. What about 2 adults? So you would do the same process. You would do 22 times 2 plus 11y equals 88. And so we would have 44 plus 11y equals 88. You would subtract 44, and you'd get 11y equals 44. When you subtract, right, 88 minus 44 is 44. So then y would equal 4. So if we had if we had 2 adults, we could have 4 children. And these could be points on your graph. So this would be a point on your graph, 1, 6 would be a point on your graph. If you solve, like let's go back to the top one and let's cover up the y, 11y. So what's 88 divided by 22? So the x-intercept would be 4, and that would mean 4 adults could go, but 0 children could go. And if we cover up the 22x, we'd get 11y equals 88. So the y-intercept, if we divide by 11, would be 8, meaning that 0 adults could go, but 8 children could go. So those are just various points on the graph. So like here I would write 1, 6. to show 1 adult and 6 children, 2 adults and 4 children. Or back here it'd be adults only, and down y-intercept would be children only. Okay, this is the second column on the first page. Given two equations in different forms, determine the slopes to tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So we have two equations here. I know that y equals negative 3x plus 15 has a slope of negative 3. I do not know the slope when the line is in standard form, or the equation is in standard form. So we have to solve for y. We did this on another problem earlier. So to solve for y, I'm going to subtract 5x, and that cancels, so we have 3y equals negative 5x minus 15. Then I'm going to divide by 3, and the 3's cancel, so y equals negative 5/3 x minus 5. The slope of this equation is m equals negative 5/3. When I look at this slope and I look at this slope, are they parallel? Are they the same? No. Are they perpendicular? Negative reciprocals? No. So they are going to be neither. They're neither perpendicular, parallel. So if you graph these, they would just cross eventually, but they wouldn't be perpendicular, and they would not be parallel. And you could graph them using Desmos. So that's another way that you can do this without even doing all this math, is you could take this equation and this equation, put it into the Desmos graphing calculator, and see what the graph looks like to be able to answer that question. In this example, write an equation of a line in point-slope form given the graph of the line. Well, this is kind of cool because they already kind of showed you how to figure out the slope. It has a rise of 2 and a run of 1. So rise over run is equal to 2 over 1. It's going uphill, so it's positive. And 2 over 1 is the same as just 2. So that is our slope. To put it in point-slope form, I'm going to give you the formula for point-slope form so you have it. It's y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So y minus y1 needs to be a point. So I need to choose a point. I'm going to choose this point just because it's easier to write, but you could choose the point down here as well. Well, I guess this one's not difficult to write either. That's 3, 1. Try to figure out the next point before me. Good. 4, 3. Now, since I said I was going to use this point, this is the one I'm going to use. Okay? So my x1, y1 are going to get plugged into this equation. So my y1 was 3. My slope is 2, so that's my m. And then I have x minus my x1 is 4. And that is it for writing the equation in point-slope form. For this next problem, we want to write an equation in point-slope form given a point and slope. So the point-slope form, let's practice writing that. Y minus y1 equals m, that's our slope, x minus x1. The reason it's called point-slope form is because we are given a slope and we're given a point, right? So we're going to plug in That's all we have to do is plug in the slope and the point. This is our point, x1, y1. So y minus y1 is 1 equals the slope, negative 2/7, parentheses x, and it's minus negative 4. But minus negative 4 becomes a plus 4. So remember, in point slope form, it's kind of opposite of what we think. The next problem is write an equation in point slope form given 2 points. So for this, again, let's practice writing point slope. Y minus the y coordinate equals m, the slope, parentheses x minus the x coordinate, which is x1. Well, the first thing we have to do here is find the slope. So step 1, find slope. You should know how to do this. Remember, slope is y2 minus y1, we subtract the y's, over x2 minus x1. Go ahead and label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So the y2 is 4, and we're going to subtract y1, which is 1. What are we going to subtract on the bottom? 3 minus negative 7. And so that gives us 3 over 10, because the minus negative changes to plus plus. That's step 1. And step 2, all we do is we plug it in. Step 2, plug in the m, which we just figured out was 3/10, and the x1, y1. Okay, so we're plugging it into this point slope form. Y minus y1 was 1 equals, our slope is 3 over 10, parentheses x. It says minus negative 7, so it's going to be plus 7. Kind of like in the last problem. This one is a little tricky. Given 2 intercepts, write an equation in standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. Well, we're given that the x-intercept is 8 and the y-intercept is negative 2. So to figure this out, we want something that is a multiple of 8 and negative 2. So we're going to pick, I'm just going to multiply those. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. So I could use negative 16, I could use positive 16, it doesn't matter. Then I have to have my x plus something and my y. So there's something going to go here, and we're going to have a plus. So if x has to equal 8, then what times 8 would give us negative 16? What times 8 gives us negative 16? It's going to be negative 2. And what for the y, negative 2? What times negative 2 gives us negative 16? And it's 8. So there is a pattern here. I could have done this a different way. I could have made it positive 16, but this way works. So if I were to graph this, my intercepts would be at 8 for the x-intercept and negative 2 for the y-intercept. And that is the bottom of page 1. So let's turn the page. Write the equation of this graph, and they didn't tell us how to write it. So I'm going to use these intercepts, 6 and 6. So if they're both equal to 6, then I could say that my multiple is 6, so equals 6. And something times x plus something times y equals 6. But it's just 1, right? 1 times x, or if I put a 1 here, and I solve for the x-intercept, I get 6. And if I put a 1 in the y, and I solve for y, 6 divided by 1 is 6. So that is one way to write an equation. Another way that we could write the equation, just to get fancy, is that this is the y-intercept at 6, and my slope is down 1 over 1. So I could also write it in slope-intercept form, because my slope is negative 1 over 1. It's my rise, and this is my run. Oops, not run, run. So my slope is equal to negative 1 over 1, which is just equal to negative 1. So another way I could write the equation is the slope-intercept, because I have slope is negative 1, x plus my y-intercept is up here at 0, 6. So my b is 6. So there's two different ways to write this equation. This is in standard form, this is in slope-intercept form. And you could do it a third way, just for fun. You could have point-slope form. So we already know the slope is negative 1, then we just need a point. So I'll choose this point, 3, 3. So point slope would be y minus 3 equals, our slope is negative 1, and then x minus 3. So we've learned 3 different ways to write equations, and you should be able to name these as standard form, the green one, slope-intercept form, that's the yellow one, point-slope form, that's the purple one. Next problem. Write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form given 2 points. Well, if it's slope-intercept form, I need to know the slope. Oops. Waking you up here. Slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. So this is going to take a couple steps because we don't know the slope. Step 1, find the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You may be getting tired of me writing that, but until you learn it, I'm going to write it. So what is our y2? And what is our y1? Good, 13 minus 1. What is our x2? 9. And what is our x1? Yeah, 3, so minus 3, which simplifies to 12 over 6, which simplifies to simply 2. Now I know my slope, but what I don't know is my y-intercept. So step 2 is we plug in m and our x1, y1 to solve for b. And solve for b. All right. So I need to choose an x1, y1, so I'm going to choose this one, x1, y1. And then I'm going to just plug this in. So my y is what? 1. My m is, we solved that over here. We just solved for that in step 1. Good. M is 2. Parentheses, because we're plugging into x. We're plugging in x1. Yeah, that's 3. Plus b. So 1 equals 6 plus b. then I need to subtract 6. So if I subtract 6 from both sides, 1 minus 6 is -5, and that equals b. And finally, our step 3 is we need to take our slope and our y-intercept to plug them in to the slope-intercept form. So step 3, plug in m, and I'll just write and because I know some people don't like writing that way, and b. All right, so y equals mx plus b, but b is negative. And finally, we are finished. And that was how you write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form given 2 points. There were 3 steps. Write the equation of a horizontal line given a point on the line. Okay, cool, we talked about this. So horizontal means like this, and that is always going to be a y equals equation. So if this is my x and this is my y, then y is going to equal -5. It's that simple. And so if I were to graph this, I'd go down 5, and the graph of that would be going through -5. Okay? It didn't ask you to graph it, but that's just so that you can see what it would look like, a horizontal line. Ooh, this was a good one. Change an equation from slope-intercept form to standard form. I don't think I taught this yet, but it is on the test. So, if you have a fraction, you want to get rid of the fraction. And the way we do that is we multiply by the denominator. Everything in the equation gets multiplied by the denominator. So what is the denominator of the slope? Good, 3. So everything gets multiplied by 3. I'm going to show that just by putting parentheses around it, and I'm going to put a 3 on the outside, times. So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times -2/3 is just -2, because the 3's cancel, leaving us with just the numerator, -2x. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so what we do is we multiply by the denominator, and that gets rid of the fraction. Now we're close to standard form because standard form is ax plus by equals c. So to get the x and y on the same side, we add 2x to the other side. So it's going to end up being, I'll show you. We want the x first because it's standard form. So it becomes 2x I don't like my arrow. Becomes 2x plus 3y equals 12. So think about how I got that from adding 2x to both sides. And now it's in standard form. Find the x and y intercepts of a line from an equation in standard form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little stamp and I'm going to cover up the y term, which will become -8x equals -72. When I divide by -8, I get x equals 9. So my x-intercept is equal to 9, 0. Now I'm going to move my stamp I'm going to move it to cover up the x term, which leaves us with 9y equals negative 72. Then I'm going to divide by 9, and 9 divided by 9 cancels, leaving us with y equals negative 8. So that means our y-intercept is equal to 0, because x is 0, negative 8, because the y is negative 8. And those are our intercepts. So let's go over to the column at the top for the last one. Yay! Write the equation of a line parallel to the given equation and a point. So parallel means the slope has to be the same. Parallel line, same slope. So our slope is our m, which is right here, so m equals 1/4. And we're given a point. So what we're going to do, since we don't have to find the slope, so step 1 was find the slope, the next step is to plug in m and x1, y1 into, well, we could leave it as point slope form, right? But I'm going to show you how to do it into slope intercept form. So we'll plug it into y equals mx plus b because it's harder. If I wanted to put it into point slope form, it would be easy because I would just use this as my x1, y1. And I would do the y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. But I'm going to do it the hard way because this is review. So my y1 is 6. My m is 1/4. My x is negative 12. And I'm solving for b. So next we will solve for b. Negative 12 times 1/4 is negative 3. Bring everything else down. Add 3 to both sides. That's 9. The 3's cancel, so b is 9. And step 3 is to plug in m, which was 1/4, and b. So y equals 1/4 x plus 9. And you could graph these two lines to see if they, like if you put this equation into Desmos graphing calculator and you put this equation into Desmos graphing calculator, you would see that they are parallel because they have the same slope, 1/4. And that is our review. So again, rewatch this video for the parts that you need extra practice with.